if LDL cholesterol was the de facto cause of premature death from cardiovascular disease, why don't life insurance companies give a crap about LDL cholesterol? I know it sounds a little bit interesting to think about, but life insurance companies are in the business of making money using their actuary statistical models to ensure that they're giving policies to people who are at low risk of dying over the course of the policy. That's what insurance companies do. They're hedging their bets. Well, it turns out the actuaries haven't found LDL cholesterol to be a significant risk factor determining whether or not someone is going to die prematurely from cardiovascular disease or other causes. In fact, life insurance companies care about your total cholesterol to your HDL cholesterol ratio. That ratio is really important because they've recognized through all of the different studies that have been conducted that we're going to talk about today, finding HDL cholesterol is inversely associated with all-cause mortality, while LDL cholesterol is not. And that's the focus of today's conversation. Here are some images showing that you can actually have really high levels of total and LDL cholesterol, but you can still qualify for premium life insurance so long as your HDL cholesterol is high. The actuaries have figured out that if you have a high HDL cholesterol, even though you have a high total cholesterol or LDL cholesterol, you are not at risk of dying and thus having the life insurance companies pay out the policy to your family for your premature death. So if the actuaries have this figured out, why is it taking so long for mainstream medical doctors to wrap their mind around the fact that this LDL conversation is much more nuanced and we should be focusing on blood pressure, waist circumference, glucose parameters, as well as HDL cholesterol? There's so much monomaniacal focus on LDL cholesterol reduction. It's getting ridiculous. In today's show, we're going to talk a little bit more about this insane science. I want to thank you for being here. If you're enjoying the content, please hit that like button and definitely check out today's sponsor, bondcharge.com, the makers of the hottest yet lowest EMF sauna blanket on the market. This is a very small form factor sauna blanket that can help you get sweaty and hot and increase blood flow and increase that feeling of calmness and relaxation before bed. Sauna therapy has been a big part of my life for the better part of 10 years now, and I hope it is a part of your life. And if you haven't yet started getting into sauna therapy, getting a sauna blanket is a great place to start. As I mentioned, this sauna blanket is one of the hottest on the market. It gets up to 170 degrees Fahrenheit. Yet it's very low in EMF. You can save by going to bondcharge.com/HIH. You can start harnessing the benefits, the many benefits of sauna and heat therapy. Again, by going to bondcharge.com/HIH. So let's get back into lipid reduction and this monomaniacal focus on LDL cholesterol levels, which have never been shown to be an independent risk factor, especially as people get older. And this is why the actuaries know this. These are expert statisticians, have much better acumen when it comes to analyzing data, evidently, than your standard practicing family medicine doctor. As best as their intentions are, they're trying to help you, but they've been educated by pharmaceutical companies through their medical training, through the luncheons and the seminars and things like that. We know that there's no strong correlation with LDL cholesterol levels and atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease. In fact, only 25% of the people who have acute coronary syndrome and they go to the ER, they have chest pain, they're having a heart attack and things like that, have high LDL cholesterol that is above 120 milligrams per deciliter, meaning 75% of these people have low LDL cholesterol. So why are we still so focused on this? Well, the insurance companies are not dumb. They're in the business to make money. They're giving out life insurance policies, hedging their bets through your labs, through your blood pressure and things like this, as well as your total cholesterol to HDL cholesterol ratios. They recognize that you can have a high total cholesterol and a high LDL cholesterol so long as your HDL cholesterol is also high. That ratio, it turns out, is important. And even if you have high total cholesterol and high LDL cholesterol, as long as you have high HDL cholesterol, they're still going to give you a premium life insurance policy because the actuaries are not dumb. They know that LDL cholesterol levels bounce all around and it's not tightly tethered to the incidence of cardiovascular disease as well as death from cardiovascular disease. Here's a screenshot from a major life insurance company highlighting the ratios that they look for. There's another table here that highlights this ratio. So again, I did some calculations. You can have a total cholesterol level greater than 300 milligrams per deciliter, but as long as your HDL, the so-called good cholesterol, is over 60, you will still qualify for the top tier, lowest price life insurance policy. Moreover, there is no reference to high LDL cholesterol being a negative factor in terms of determining the cost or eligibility for your life insurance policy. It's contingent upon the total cholesterol to HDL cholesterol ratio. You might be saying, well, why is that? Well, here's a study that was recently published in BMJ Open titled Lack of Association or an Inverse Association Between Low Density Lipoprotein Cholesterol Levels and Mortality in the Elderly, highlighting that high LDL cholesterol is actually inversely associated with mortality in most people over the age of 60. Numerous studies now highlight this. And again, it's being ignored by the mainstream medical establishment that is still monomaniacally focused on lowering LDL cholesterol. There's multiple papers saying lower is better, as low as 30 milligrams per deciliter with all sorts of different medications, which is absolutely absurd. Now, you might be saying, well, why is that? Because ample research shows that high HDL cholesterol is actually protective and inversely associated with your risk of cardiovascular disease to a point. There appears to be a U-shaped curve with high HDL cholesterol. There's some young people that have super high levels of HDL cholesterol. It may be a compensatory anti-inflammatory mechanism, so there could be risk. It's not, as long as I've heard mentors tell me, as long as the HDL is earned through exercise, through nutrition, which we're going to get to in just a moment. But this paper that was published in the Journal of Endocrinological Investigation during the year of 2022 in March, the title here is A Dose-Response Meta-Analysis to Evaluate the Relationship Between High-Density Lipoprotein Cholesterol and All-Cause and Cardiovascular Disease Mortality. And they highlight that HDL cholesterol is inversely associated with all-cause and cardiovascular disease mortality risks under approximately 2 millimoles per liter. So it's well recognized that HDL cholesterol is more important than LDL cholesterol in terms of determining your risk of dying from cardiovascular disease and dying from all causes. So what are the best ways to increase your HDL cholesterol? This is where therapeutic lifestyle change comes in, with low-carb nutrition, with exercise, combining both aerobic exercise with resistance training exercise. So I want to share with you a little bit, some details from this recently published study in the European Heart Journal titled Aerobic Resistance or Combined Exercise Training and Cardiovascular Risk Profile in Overweight or Obese Adults, the so-called Cardio Race Trial. And essentially what this trial found is there is a synergistic effect of combining resistance exercise with aerobic exercise. And this is what I recommend for all of my clients that I work with. Do strength training 3 to 4 days per week and start to walk 10 to 15 minutes after every major meal, and weave in some HIIT training on days that you're not doing resistance training. So we're moving our bodies all throughout the day. In fact, numerous studies find one of the reasons why it's hard to lose appreciable amounts of body fat is because we're so sedentary, not just in our lack of recreational exercise, but just throughout the day. We're sitting, we're driving, we're at the desk, we're watching TV, we're not moving. And that lack of just, non-exercise associated thermogenesis, just moving, because we're so sedentary, our fat cells have a hard time releasing some of the stored energy. And so this is why it's so important to not only go to the gym and do resistance training, full body exercises, and I can link in the description below over at courses.highintensityhealth.com, some of the exercises that I recommend, hip thrusts, deadlifts, squats, hip hinges, pull-ups, presses, all of those are very beneficial. And it turns out, as you can see here from this abstract, from this study of 406 men and women, when you combine both resistance training with aerobics, and that is, again, like weightlifting and then followed by some cardio or some running or some hiking, pairing these together in a form maybe like CrossFit or high-intensity interval training, you get the best reduction in blood glucose, blood pressure, which, by the way, the actuaries at life insurance companies really care about blood pressure. So if the mainstream medical community wants to be a zealot about one so-called biomarker, it should be really blood pressure and probably HDL cholesterol with triglycerides. But as you can see here, the combined effect in terms of reducing body fat, decreasing blood pressure, and affecting cardiovascular risk parameters, the best synergy occurs when we're pairing resistance training with some sort of cardio. And so this is a combination effect. And numerous studies have shown this. So again, if you just go to the gym and just do a little bit of weightlifting, that's good. That's better than nothing at all. But if you do a little weightlifting and then do some sprints afterwards, or go for a hike, or take your dog on a brisk walk, you're going to get the best reduction in the things that actually matter, according to actuaries who are in the business of helping life insurance companies make money. And that is reducing your blood pressure, increasing your HDL cholesterol, and decreasing your fasting glucose, and improving your body composition. So I wanted to share this with you because, again, I get so many DMs and comments. Well, my doctor's worried about my high total cholesterol, or my doctor's worried about my high LDL cholesterol. I mean, I can't tell you how many times and how many people have commented about this, and we need to defer to what I think are experts. Again, people, actuaries, that is, specifically, are in the business of helping life insurance companies make money. And they do so by doing risk analysis. And in their risk analysis, they are not finding high LDL cholesterol to be a significant risk factor for early death from cardiovascular disease or all causes. But they do find that the ratio of total cholesterol to HDL cholesterol is important. So when you go and look at your labs and say you do have a high total cholesterol, but you also have a high LDL cholesterol, then you're probably doing a lot of the right things, and you may not be at the level of risk that your health professional is scaring you into believing you are because of your high total or LDL cholesterol. And numerous studies find over the age of 60, there's a lack of correlation between high LDL cholesterol and risk of death from cardiovascular disease and all causes. In fact, just several months ago, we reviewed data in individuals over the age of 60 and found that higher LDL cholesterol levels over 60 increases the odds that one would live to become a centenarian or reach their 100th birthday. So I would appreciate you sharing this information with your doctor or with your friends and family who are still focused on lowering their LDL cholesterol, but ignoring the fact that their HDL cholesterol is in the crapper. There's many things we can do to increase our HDL cholesterol, as I just mentioned, combining resistance training with aerobic exercise. We know walking after meals is something that is really good for increasing HDL cholesterol, as well as cutting out the processed carbohydrates and refined sugar and sugar-sweetened beverages and sugar-enriched baked goods that many of us are eating, because we know those foods are problematic. I would love to know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. As always, friends, I want to thank you for tuning all the way in. I want to thank this video show sponsor, Bond Charge. Check out their amazing low EMF yet hot sauna blanket in the links below, and we'll catch you on a future video down the road.